And we are back. Welcome to another edition of Fly Like an Eagle podcast. It is draft day. We're here on a special Thursday. Well, not special Thursday. It's a special Thursday edition of Fly Like an Eagle podcast because I was sick yesterday. I couldn't do it. I was trying to tough it out for you guys, but it's going to work out better today since, obviously it's draft day and we have a lot going on. The Sixers play tonight. Not a Sixers show, but I just had to point that out because, they have to win. And I'm just pumped for tonight. It's a big day in Philly sports. Bigger for the Eagles because you gotta really nail this draft, especially if you want to rebound from last year. And I think I know what they're gonna do, but then again, I never know what they're gonna do because Howie always throws a curveball that's unnecessary. So who knows? But with that being said, what's up, Scotty? How you doing, buddy?
What's going on, Kai? Glad you're feeling a little bit better today. And like you said, it is a huge day in Philly sports. Yeah, I know you're still kind of toughing it out a little bit. You're a champ for that. But yeah, like I feel well, you've actually had a little bit of a rough week then with the Sixers and then yesterday being sick. Let's hope today and this show brings a little bit more positivity and fun for sure.
Yeah. Let's have some fun.
that didn't sound too
good old
enthusiastic.
Yeah, let's have some fun.
Looks like you got a haircut too.
Yeah. I went to my barber yesterday as well. It was a good day. I was getting sick as I was sitting in the barber chair. I had to get up. I had to go to the bathroom, and it took like 5 minutes. They heard me vomiting
in the barber shop. That's the worst.
They heard me like violent vomiting throughout the whole store. They were like checking in on me. They're like, "Yo, you good, bro?" I was like, "No, but let's get it done." So I finished.
Wait, you went back in the chair?
Yeah.
Oh yeah. No, God.
Yeah, my haircut wasn't done. So I was like, okay. As long as you're not going to get me sick, I'll finish it, bro. And I was like, okay. Yeah, he did a really good job.
But, no, it looks good. Yeah. I mean, you got a hat on. I can't really see, but from what I can see.
Yeah, no, I'll show it eventually. I mean, my hair's in the process of growing back, so.
Okay.
I'm sure it when it's a finished product. But for the most part, yeah. I mean, draft day, I feel like we should pick the right pick because at 22, you can't really fuck it up that much. But I'm also hearing that they want to trade up. And to me, if you're going to trade up, you're obviously going to want to make a splash like a Brock Bowers or, wide receiver. A wide receiver really wouldn't make any sense, but a tight end would. I just don't know if there's going to be a situation tonight to where I could get angry at anything, but it is the Philadelphia Eagles, so you never know. And, yeah, I just want to hear your thoughts on what you expect tonight and ultimately what you want the Eagles to do.
So I've heard pretty much every case in the book, trade up, trade down. I think it's more likely that they will trade up or trade down than to stay put at 22. And I also kind of have a little like conspiracy theory or just gut feeling about that because I don't know if you remember, but Marcus Smith and Danny Watkins were both picked around that number. Mm-hmm. So when you say you can't fuck it up, they have fucked it up before. Oh, and I think Jalen Reagor was also picked right around this number, somewhere in there.
Picked right before Justin Jefferson.
So the real issue here, if we break it down, they have a player rated at a certain level that they don't want to not take in a later round, but he's not a first round talent. So they reach and they take that player, but he should have been, a second round pick. And they're just not good at getting that value in those early 20s for whatever reason. And again, it's hard. We know top 15 picks are probably the easiest, but then after that, it's like, well, what's the difference between the 20th overall pick and the 80th overall pick? Like, it's just a crapshoot at that point. You know what I mean? Like, obviously, there's probably like the top 15 players in the entire draft, and then the rest are a mystery, pretty much. So that's the issue. So honestly, if you are confident and know you have a superstar or an 8-10 year starter, you trade up for him. I have no problem doing that. Trade one of your second round picks to move up into the top 15. Of course, if it's for an offensive lineman, I wouldn't do that because like it's just not a need for us, like at all. Another thing too, I will mention, I was looking at our roster last night. I know we got a lot to cover today, but I don't see many holes on this team actually. Like I was actually very impressed with our roster as it currently is. I think our offense is perfectly fine. I guess the only thing you could say is Dallas Goedert. Like he's still a great player, just gets hurt. But I would throw every pick into the defense because I don't see any holes on offense at all. And also it's so weird, random. Our quarterback room, Jalen Hurts, Tanner McKee, Kenny Pickett, and Will Greer. It just feels so weird, like seeing all their names together. So we don't need a backup quarterback. We have Saquon Barkley and Kenneth Gainwell. You know, AJ Devontae, like we're fine on offense, and the offensive line is good. You know, so defense for me. And like I said, I like Kool-Aid if around the 22 area. But if they move up and they fall in love and they have a superstar, go get them.
There's one scenario that I could see playing out tonight. Now, you did mention that Dallas Goedert, he's good, and he's a big part of this offense. Now, this is what I could see happening, but it might not happen, but I could see it happening. I could see the Eagles trading Dallas Goedert to a team that needs a tight end, them going up to get Brock Bowers and giving them their 22nd pick overall. So they give them their 22nd, they give Dallas Goedert, and they just take a shot at Brock Bowers. Maybe get back another third-round pick.
What'd you say?
Maybe get back another third, so it kind of evens the deal a little bit. But
no, I think they would have to give up more
for Brock Bowers.
Yeah,
really. I think Dallas Goedert's a good enough tight end to where it would sway somebody. Because I mean, me personally, I was never that big of a fan of Dallas Goedert, but he's a
little overrated, right?
Yeah. Like if you want that splash at tight end, go get Brock Bowers from a national title team. I feel like just make that splash and move on, and then later on in the draft, go for depth because we already proven that we can't pick in the 20s. So it's like, why even take a risk?
Yeah, for me, it's got to be corner. I know everyone's going to be like, oh my God, another defensive end. But I would be fine with a defensive end. Of course, we would love linebacker. Linebacker is still probably our biggest need, even though we have, what do you think of Nolan Smith?
I mean, there's not much of a sample size for me to completely judge him. But from what I saw last year, I'm not the biggest fan. But we'll see. I'll give him another year. It was only his first year. The same thing with him and Carter. Carter started out great. And then he hit the rookie wall. The last 6 games, he was kind of non-existent. So I'll give them another year, especially Carter. I think he's going to be a beast. But Nolan Smith, it's too early to tell. Like, it really is. And I got to disagree with you on one thing. If they pick an edge rusher over a cornerback, I'll probably be upset. I'm not going to lie. Because you have to look in the secondary. And you had to see the weakest part of our collapse last year. And that was the secondary. Bradbury was completely non-existent at the end of the year. You have Isaiah Rodgers coming back from gambling. We don't know what he is, and we don't know how he's going to turn out on this team. If you want to make a splash and make the right pick for once, you're going for Cooper DeJean or you're going for your boy Kool-Aid. And I'd be completely all right with either one of them. But since we're on the same page, and we both see them as decent picks, the Eagles aren't going to pick them. They're going to go out of their way and pick someone that no one sees, and they're going to try to reach for value, as they like to say, and it's not going to work out. It's going to be like another Andre Dillard pick if they pick a guard or something like that.
Don't put that into the year. Don't bring that energy.
It's not putting it into the universe. It's knowing what this franchise does. It's knowing what Howie Roseman does. he always likes to do the cute thing when it's not necessary.
Well, now they did sign Saquon, a running back in free agency. Is that turning over a new leaf or no?
I mean, I think that was a need, number one, because
corner's not a need.
no, again, the corner is a huge need, but I just don't see since we're agreeing on a corner, it's not going to happen, because they never pick the player that the team actually needs. Like I said, they always try to go
the obvious choice.
Yeah, the obvious choice. Even though I liked Jalen Reagor, I'll admit that was a flaw of mine. The obvious choice of that draft was Justin Jefferson at the time. If they picked Justin Jefferson, who knows
CeeDee
what
Lamb
right now?
Or CeeDee Lamb, right?
Yeah. Well, CeeDee Lamb got picked by the Cowboys, but yeah, if you pick Justin Jefferson at 21 that year, who knows where we're at? Honestly, I mean, that would have been Justin Jefferson, and who knows if they would have picked Jalen Hurts at that point. So, I mean, the world works in mysterious ways. I understand that. But I don't know. I don't trust Howie Roseman to do the right thing tonight. And I probably never will, honestly.
Yeah, we know the draft is definitely not his strong suit, for sure. Which I guess we can just jump around here and get into our next topic. What is Howie's best draft class? So he took over GM in 2010. He's had 13 draft classes.
Mm-hmm.
I guess just what comes to your mind. I don't know if you want to look something up. For me, I guess I can start it off since it was my idea to talk about this. Now, it's also a little weary with the Chip thing because Chip had some influence, and I think he was officially the GM in the 2015 season.
Yeah.
But honestly, for me, I'm going to have to go. It's probably 2013.
Really?
Because
is that the Lane Johnson draft?
Lane Johnson and Zach Ertz.
Gotta be. I mean, we agree on that one. You can't really top that, to be honest with you, because number one, both of them were on the Super Bowl team, and number two, Lane Johnson's the best right tackle in the league. So you can't go wrong with that at all. So I'm gonna actually agree with you. So that was pretty simple.
Yeah, no, because if you have two all-time players, it might rival one of the best overall, product drafts ever. I'm to have those two of like top two players at their position in franchise history, at least top three. So yeah, I mean, if anyone in the comments can think of anything better, then yeah, we're both going to say 2013.
Well, you have to think because Zach Ertz. I mean, I wasn't as big on Zach Ertz as everyone else, but he has the record of receptions by a tight end in a NFL season. He has 117, and like I said, Lane Johnson. I don't think he gives up 3 sacks every 2 years. So you can't go wrong with that. It's obscene. It's ridiculous what this tackle has done for us. And it sucks that he's not ever going to get to the Hall of Fame because of the suspensions. But I kind of wish they would overlook it just for him because he's that dynamic.
I think they will. I mean, if he gets another 2 All-Pro seasons and they win another Super Bowl, I think he has to be a Hall of Famer.
Well, that's big one too, beating Logan. Yeah, I forgot about that.
Yeah, it was, okay. Whatever. But yeah, it wasn't like he was a complete, bust. But yeah, it was something. Also, another thing with that draft too is obviously in 2012 we finished 4-12. So we picked at the top of each round. Obviously, that does make it a little bit easier for sure. But yeah, I would definitely agree 2013 for sure.
Absolutely.
Do you want to ask me the next topic on our rundown?
The next agenda on our rundown. So we got through that pretty quickly. So Bill Belichick to the NFC East next year.
I know. We're gonna start at the top.
Oh, at the top.
I just went to the draft. part.
Oh, okay. All right, let's go. So there's a problem going around Philly with all of this AJ Brown and Philly media disaster, and it seems like the Philly media is completely petty when it comes to AJ Brown as a person, not only as a player, as a person. And they're not going to get off of his back until he's gone. And this has happened in the last 20 years at least 5 times between athletes. It's happening to Joel Embiid. It's happening to A.J. Brown. It's happened to T.O. It's happened to Allen Iverson. And it happened to Donovan McNabb the whole time he was here. The one question I have to ask you is, why are the Philly media, why are they so obsessed about trying to tear down these athletes and trying to tear these teams apart? Like, that's one thing I'll never understand. And the whole A.J. Brown thing, like, I know you and me disagreed. I think personally I would trade him away for the 3rd pick overall tonight. And I understand his value is great for this team. But getting Marvin Harrison Jr., I think, would be worth it, especially because A.J. Brown does kind of have a lot of drama. But other than that, I don't know why the Philly media is so obsessed with tearing athletes down. I'll never get it.
Yeah, first of all, you already know I do not agree with that at all. The trade AJ Brown, I think it's absolutely insane and way too much of a risk when you already have one of the best receivers in the league that makes your entire offense flow and be great and helps the running game, the quarterback, everything. So I definitely don't agree with that. But I was going to ask you, what do all of those 5 athletes that you mentioned, McNabb, Embiid, Terrell Owens, Iverson, they all have a personality, and they have an attitude, but like most great players do. You know, there's only so many handful of like humble Joes, and like, you know, these are professional athletes. They've been great their entire lives. You know, they can be conceited or just cocky or whatever, but like, who gives a fuck? Like, they're here to perform.
Yeah.
And make their money and, you know, chase after whatever their goals are.
Yeah.
I really think it's for whatever reason, especially in this town, it's like, oh, well, you're not being a team player or fitting the mold or falling in line, which is a very old school kind of like controlling mentality to have. And we're getting away from that because we talked about this in a previous episode that the athlete has all of the swaying power now. Like, you know, if I don't want to play for you or I don't want to go there, like they're just not going to go. And then the franchise has to pivot and they trade or do something about it. But yeah, the media needs to knock it the F off because, you know, we started this conversation with a Twitter X poll that WIP posted something about, I can't remember what, it was such an asinine poll. I can't remember what exactly it was. But, you know, AJ Brown, stay or go. And it's just like the fans aren't even talking about this. So, like, why are you bringing this up out of nowhere? This was resolved. It was resolved 2 months ago when Brown called the station, whatever. Yeah. And it's like, this is going to be this. I guarantee this will be brought up again in August or September. Like, it just will be for sure.
Well, it's also a slow news day during the week because WIP has nothing to talk about because they're not smart and
this is going to be brought up again. If there's one little interview tidbit or training camp drama with AJ, this will be magnified. Like, 110%.
If he misses a day of practice because his wife is going into labor or something, they're gonna be like, oh no, AJ Brown's not committed to practice. What are we gonna do? Like, it's just bullshit, man. It's like, I don't know. Like I said, I know he has problems mentally because let's be honest, what millionaire athlete calls into a radio station who no one gives a fuck about? Like, I think that is kind of,
he's sensitive, right?
Yeah, but you're a millionaire, like a multi-millionaire. You shouldn't be caring about these clowns. Like, I mean, it's like at the end of the day, maybe they are right a little bit.
But they all use Twitter. They all use Twitter. It's the world we live in. Everyone cares. Every celebrity, every famous person, every athlete, they all, for whatever reason, they have a big ego. Like they're responding to eggs on Twitter. So like, why would you know?
Well, number one, it's X. Number two, I agree. I agree. Does anyone actually call it X? Elliott Shore-Parks, Joe DeCamara, and Joe Giglio is the dumbest takes. I agree with that 100%, especially DeCamara. He's a fucking stooge, man. He sucks.
I
But
do not like Elliott. I like Joe. I like both Joes more than Elliott.
you like Giggles?
What?
You like Giggles? That's what we all call him, Joe Giglio. Giggles. He's a
More
fucking
than Elliott Shore-Parks?
he's a clown. It's like I don't know. Like I kind of like Jack Fritz in the afternoon. I think he's kind of funny.
So basically, those three names are like the Three Stooges to you, basically.
Oh yeah, yeah, they're the worst, absolute worst. And the WIP has some weird ass callers too, like regulars that call in think they run the show, and it just annoys the fuck out of me. All right, I gotta disagree with this one, and I think this is Eagle speed. Actually, I don't know why you have an Arizona Cardinal as your logo, but Howard Eskin, in my honest opinion, he has this persona about him, but I don't know. I kind of like his douchiness. I'm not gonna lie to you. I've always kind of liked Howard, but recently he's been in the media overly bashing players, and people go all the way back to 2004 where he lied about Allen Iverson. And I don't know. I feel like he's a really good reporter. I don't like bash him that much because he did really open up in the industry as being one of the better reporters. So I don't think he's necessarily the worst. I just think he's an acquired taste, if that makes any sense.
So I always liked Howard and still do, like, on the radio, whatever, TV. But I do have a little bit of a personal issue with him. We know I used to work at Chicky and Pete's, and obviously
Yeah.
they're always there, the sports media, and let's just say Howard is not a good tipper for sure.
Oh yeah. I mean, you could tell it by the suits he wears, man.
He literally will leave like $5 on $100 check.
5%. That's pretty bad. That's pretty bad. Hey, it's not as bad as people leaving nothing on a $200 bill. So, I've seen those before.
Yeah, but they're like trash, not someone that's, making 7 figures a year.
That is true. That's true. I stand corrected. But yeah, I mean, for the most part, who cares what Philly media thinks about AJ Brown? I just don't like when they try to tear down a player and it wrecks the chemistry of the team. That's what I don't like. It's like you're reporting for Philadelphia sports. You should be lifting Philadelphia sports, not tearing them down. And people always want to ask why we never win. There's just not a good culture for these teams. Like even the Sixers are down 2-0 tonight. Embiid's on one leg. You have Maxey turning the ball over when it wasn't necessary. Like these teams have no good cultures. You could say the Phillies, but they lost last year. It's just I don't know, man. Maybe this.
I think you're pretty down and out because of that game the other night still, and being sick yesterday. But I would say the Eagles' culture is by far the best. I mean, they won the most recent. But also, if you want to talk Sixers, like Embiid is kind of justified because they can't get out of the second round. The other teams have made it. You know what I mean? Not justified, but like more on par than Iverson, McNabb, Owens, AJ Brown, because all of those people made the championship game. Do you like?
Well, here's the thing. I've seen a lot of athletes. I've seen a lot of sports in my life. I'm 31 years old. Embiid is by far in any sport, by far the most talented, gifted athlete I've ever seen. Like ever. Wow. Yeah, ever. And the fact that he hasn't got past the second round tells you more about how the team is built around him. They have no bench. They never have a bench. The one year they could have went to the finals. They didn't have a bench that year. And even if they beat Toronto in overtime that game, they weren't going to win the finals because they were gassed. So it's like, I feel so bad for the guy. He's out there. He's blind. He's out there playing on one leg. He can't even look at reporters when he's talking to them because he can't look up into the light. It's like, there hasn't been an athlete I felt more bad for than Joel Embiid. And that's why if he ever wins, man, I'll probably cry like a baby because no one deserves him more than that guy. But,
so I think your issue is like the perception should be he's one of the greatest players and it's the team's fault, but people want to blame him is basically what you're saying.
They're always going to blame him because he's the best player on the floor. He's the one with the personality, the ego, and that's why they're blaming
Yeah,
him
but
because
other yeah, but all right. So this city, but other cities would protect that player and they'd blame
correct.
something else, but not
Correct.
this city, right?
Correct. Like if you wanted to go to the game tonight, the fans already gave up. Our fan base is miserable. Like our fan base pretty much already gave up. It's like $71 for standing room. Like if you want to check out an NBA playoff game, tonight would be the night. Like it's just it's garbage. And like standing room at MSG is like $300. It's like a joke. But I don't know. I'm not going to talk too much about the fixtures tonight because obviously I'm going tonight and I want to be in a good mood. But I just want to. I think that the thing is that I want to be in a good mood for when the Eagles inevitably fuck up our pick tonight. So it kind of equals itself out a little bit. So I don't know. It's going to happen.
I mean, I don't go into. I feel like maybe I'm just a blind sheep, maybe an Eagles sheep. But I think I always go into also after the free agency. Like I said, I just looked at their roster. I'm impressed with that roster. I think you should go on Wikipedia and look at it because it gave me a little bit of confidence. I'm like, damn, this is like, I like this. I see depth on wide receiver. I see depth on the O-line. I don't know, man. That was just my hot take. But yeah, I have some I'm optimistic about tonight for sure. Mm-hmm. All right, moving on a little bit. Unless you had something to add.
Nope.
Another interesting thing that we missed last week. I forget. I think Hurts. I think it was last week when they talked. Jalen Hurts wants consistency with coaches and wants to set the culture and tone himself. Keyword himself for next season. Obviously, he's referring to, and honestly, his whole career, we know that he has not consistently had the same signal caller, the same offensive coordinator, hell, even the same head coach dating back to high school. Now, the only thing that I keep seeing is like, oh, this is the third year in a row Eagles have a new coordinator. I'm like, no, it's not. It's the second. Shane Steichen was here for 21 and 22.
Correct.
And also Brian Johnson was here since then too. So I don't know how that could be like entirely different if he was already on the staff and you're so close to him. But the main thing here, coaches and stuff aside, because we have a lot of different opinions on this. Honestly, in my ideal world, the head coach is in charge of the offense. It doesn't matter when the coordinator leaves. It's still the same offense. And, you're growing up that coaching tree. You're not bringing in an entirely new coaching tree with your head coach. Then the offensive coordinator leaves. Then, what's your offense based on? So that's my only biggest worry with this season, kind of off topic.
Mm-hmm.
But the biggest thing for me is that Hurts said was him setting the tone of the locker room and the culture. Well, if it wasn't him doing that last year, who was it? And that's the question I'm going to ask you.
Setting the culture? I don't think anyone really I don't think anyone really set the culture for last year. I mean, I think it was more like along the lines of if Jalen Hurts plays well, the whole team plays well. If he plays like shit, the whole team is a disaster. I think it runs through him and him saying he wants to change the culture. The only way he could change the culture and make it good is by playing well. You can't just disappear, especially like everything you brought up. You said that Brian Johnson, he was the quarterback's coach, and then he was offensive coordinator for a year. Well, going from quarterback's coach to running the whole offense in 1 year is a major jump. And you saw immediately that once our offense
I don't really know that though, because if you're the quarterback coach, you know the whole offense because the quarterback has to know the whole offense. No,
right? No, I get that, but it's like if you're like I said to you numerous times, when you're buddy with a coach, and it goes from him teaching you simple things as a quarterback to him running the ship and telling you what to do. And you have an ego in the back of your mind because you succeeded pretty much without him the year before on offense, you're going to clash heads. And it's like, I hear him saying he wants to change the culture, and I understand all that, but the only way he's going to change the culture is if he listens to his coaches, he does the right things, and he just shuts up and plays football. That's the only way that culture is going to be good, especially in the locker room, with the majority of the players that helped us collapse coming back. So you have to take it by the balls. You need to work in the offseason, and you got to be a leader. And now I see Jerry Mayhouse saying Kelsey was the real leader. Well, he was always a leader, but if you want to go that route, I'm going to be fair. Kelsey was a part of that collapse. So I can't
everyone has a hand in it.
Yeah. So it's like when you have Kelsey leaving, you have to, I guess, coach up Jurgens, and you gotta get into chemistry with him quickly, or else you don't want to start off the season like on a bad note, because if you do that, you're not going to rebound. It's just that simple. You need to punch these teams in the mouth. You need to go to Brazil. You need to kill the Green Bay Packers, and that's the culture. That's how you're going to build a culture around the locker room. Because if you come out of Brazil 0-1, it's going to be a really shitty year.
So I agree with most of what you said, but the biggest thing that I question is you said that Hurts might feel that he didn't, like, 2022 had nothing to do with Brian Johnson and he was successful without him. But Brian Johnson coached Hurts in, what was it, high school or college? So, like, Brian Johnson, what was it, Alabama?
Alabama.
So Brian Johnson helped morph Hurts into what he is today for years and years, and the whole time he's been with the Eagles. So I don't know. I mean, unless you're just saying that Brian Johnson just carries his bags and the quarterback coach title is just meaningless, or just there to boost his ego and tell him how great he is, then you might have a point there, and that makes sense. But we really would love like a sit down interview, tell all, right, with how this last season went, and especially Hurts and Brian Johnson, because that's probably the biggest surprise. The defense collapsing and Sean Desai makes sense more than why, as a coach that you've known half your life, you look so bad and the offense is literally shit, and like you're just not, you can't pick up a blitz. Like, it didn't make any damn sense.
Yep.
And that was the most concerning thing for sure, was like, why are you guys just being dumb as hell, and like you don't care? That's what I mean. That's what it came off to me. So to wrap up, Hurts does need to be the number one leader and set the tone and culture, because Jason Kelsey and Fletcher Cox did retire. Now he is a more quiet guy, lead by example, but I'm sure, I can't imagine that Howie, Nick, even hell Jeffrey, who the hell ever, probably said to him, you are our official new leader. You're a natural leader. You're getting paid to lead this team and win games. Mm-hmm. This is what we expect from you. I can 100% see that conversation happen. Can you?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, you nailed it right on the head. Mm-hmm. But like I said, we'll see what happens. It's all up to Jalen Hurts. He needs to build the culture of winning, and the only way to do that is by winning. That's pretty much it. I mean, you have to get the whole locker room involved. It needs to be like 2017, where you're a band of brothers. Bring everyone together. Talk to the defense. Talk to special teams. Just bring everyone together. Make it one big happy family, and go back to the Super Bowl. That's basically how I see it.
But just see a comment from Unknown Capalot. I can't stand Jason or Travis Kelce. I think you're just, no one's ever going to make you happy, and you're just being a hater if you just don't enjoy something about them. Mm-hmm. Like, you're not going to enjoy anybody. Like, they're just very outgoing, smart, funny businessmen, marketing. Like, they are, and of course, honestly, I think everyone in any industry could find something to look up to about them. Like, athletically, podcast, business mind savvy, even like anything, like the music industry, political views, like everyone could find something somewhere that they like about them. That's just my opinion.
All right. So, I mean, I can see why you could dislike Travis Kelce, but I don't know about Jason.
Why? Because of Taylor Swift?
Yeah. I'm watching football now. I'm not a hater of Taylor Swift. I think Taylor Swift is very talented. I think she's very driven, and she's very successful. But is that why people respect her the most? But here's the thing: when I'm watching football, I don't want to see her face every 5 seconds. Like I just don't. Like it's like I understand you're trying to bring her fan base into it. I get it, but it's like you have to think about the male majority in the world watching football. They don't want to see her face.
Yeah, but that majority is not going anywhere.
Yeah, yeah.
They're not
I
going.
mean,
They're gonna watch. They're gonna watch no matter what.
yeah. Oh yeah, you're right. Can't stand the Swifties. They're a cult that know jack shit about football. I mean, listen. I mean, the Swifties know a lot about her music. You know, I respect it. It is a cult. They pay a lot of money to go see her. I just don't want to see her face on my TV on Sundays. I'm sorry, I just don't. But
But
you know,
and obviously it's a little different for us because of our personal preferences. But if
yeah.
I was like a man, or I'll say if I was a straight man and my girlfriend
Mhm.
is getting into football with Taylor Swift, like wouldn't they like that to talk football with her about, like, type thing? I don't know.
Uh, no, because if you're watching football, like you and I both know, football is a violent ass sport. All right, you're seeing people get their knees torn up, their bones torn up, their faces torn up.
All right, it's
Like
a lot better than it ever was. I mean, it's not
like
as aggressive.
like Damar Hamlin died on the field, and like I think the last thing you want to talk about is Taylor Swift when you're watching a violent game like that.
I didn't
Yeah,
say Taylor Swift. I meant if the girl gets into football and starts
yeah,
liking and following the team, wouldn't
right.
they enjoy that to talk about football with her?
I think the only chicks that are watching football, and this isn't a sexist comment, I think the only chicks watching football are the ones that grew up with the game. I don't think you're going to get someone in their 30s, 35s getting into the game of football like that. I just don't. It's just a different preference.
You mean like if they watched it with their dad or their family or
Correct.
something? Okay.
Correct. Yeah. So it's
I could
like
see
I just
that.
don't
I
get the
could see
whole.
that.
Maybe they're trying to gear it towards like younger teenage girls because they bring Taylor Swift and like, "Ooh, this is really cool. She likes this. So I'm going to like it too." Maybe they're trying to do that, but you're not going to gauge a 25 plus female lady into watching football when they didn't like it for their whole life. You're just not going to do that for the most part. It's like trying to get women to watch UFC. You know, it's almost the same thing. You know, it just doesn't happen.
I see where you're coming from for sure. I think it's like a big push. Obviously, the world in general, a big push for everything, diversity, inclusive, everything. But we do see women referees, we see
Yeah.
women's coaches now, which who would have ever thought even 10 years ago that
Oh
would ever
man.
be a thing.
Yeah.
So I think that's also where that they're trying to do that outreach and push from too.
Correct. And it's like I feel like
Mhm.
most of it, I don't like saying this, but like a lot of it is forced in my opinion. But as long as they're good at their jobs, I really don't care. You know,
I
you
mean,
just
yeah,
gotta
I mean,
be
what do you mean? There should be, if they're good at it and equal opportunity, why not? I mean, there's no reason why, a ref can't be a man or a woman. It's not like they're getting physical. So,
exactly
right?
as long as you're good at the job, whatever, you know.
Hmm.
Well, I guess that's I don't know. I
We
never
kind of
really
got
had a
like in a little rabbit hole there, right?
oh yeah, that like took up 10 minutes of the show right there. And I
Right.
wasn't even on the agenda. But
All right.
yeah,
Yeah,
sometimes that happens on this podcast. You never know.
moving on. Well, this should be a very interesting next two topics because they kind of go together.
Yep.
Obviously, Bill Belichick his name's been in the headlines his whole career. His name's been in the headlines. Very controversial figure, coach, for better or for worse. He was on the Pat McAfee show last week, I believe it was. He's going to be on there tonight for the draft. We're plugging them. I actually might want to watch that, check that out, because that could be somewhat interesting depending on what mood he's in. But
Yep.
apparently the rumor is he's trying to rebuild his reputation just to be kind of a more like happy-go-lucky, smiley guy to try and get a job next year. He also has all of his Super Bowl trophies behind him in every interview that he does. I think that's pretty hysterical. Now, the big rumor is that he is looking at the NFC East. I'm sure everyone's familiar with the story with the Falcons, how Robert Kraft told the Falcons owner that you can't trust Bill Belichick because it was rumored that he was going to go to the Falcons. Like that's what it was going to be. I want to know, Kyle, do you believe there's any truth to that? And also, do you think there's a realistic possibility that we are facing Bill Belichick or somehow, like by the grace of God, lightning strike us down, Bill Belichick could be the Philadelphia Eagles head coach next year?
No, I don't see it. I mean, first of all, they want a puppet. That's why
What
they
what
brought back
percentage? If you were betting on that,
5%. 5%.
what?
At 5%. Yeah, it's not very big. I mean, they want a guy, they want a yes man. Bill Belichick's not a yes man. He's a very strict coach. The Patriot way was a thing for a reason. That's why they always won. It was strict at practice. They ran a lot of laps. You know, you're not going to have that here in this, especially at the NovaCare complex. It's always going to be Jeffrey Lurie and Howie Roseman running the ship. Everyone knows
Now,
that.
do you think Bill Belichick could somehow become more of a yes man just to get a job because he's kind of like is embarrassed or like just really wants a job, or no?
No. I mean, I think he'd rather retire than like take a yes man role or a defensive coordinator job. He has 6 rings. I mean, you have to
but
look
don't
at
you
it.
think I mean, honestly, he is being a little disrespected. I don't know if it's recency bias, but he really, or is that just like social media impact and it's not really reality? Like the facts are the facts.
He's being disrespected because Tom Brady in his first year with the Buccaneers won the Super Bowl. You know, everyone's looking back on it and saying, well, Tom Brady did this in his first year with a completely new team. What did Bill do since Tom Brady left? And you look at it, they made the
way he had a terrible season last year. They went like 4-13. So I think if he even just would have went like 8-8, whatever, 8-9, but when you bottom out and are one of the worst teams, then
yeah.
I
mean, they looked awful, and now they're in position to get another quarterback. So, you know, I just don't. I don't see them taking him. And plus, I'm a little shocked that Robert Kraft would say that about Bill Belichick. I do agree. I think it actually was said. I'm a little shocked that he said that because the guy brought you 6 championships. You know, it's like you got to look at all the teams around the league, like Detroit, Oakland.
Apparently, it's just a big ego thing that he thinks that he's not getting enough credit in the media public eye for it, which is just it's sick, right? It's like, what? You're the owner, you're not the coach, right?
Well, I mean he had enough he had enough bad publicity with that whole massage parlor thing. So I mean, maybe he should just step down a little bit.
It reminds me of Jerry Jones and Jimmy Johnson too. Like what are you like? You're literally a power hungry egomaniac. Yeah. Oh, like what? You own the team. You're the one bringing in billions of dollars. Yeah. Like you're winning. You're physically, mentally winning. Like, why does it matter if ESPN says the coach's name and not yours? Like, what?
Because these billionaires, they want more and more and more. It's never enough. First comes money, then comes the power, and then they want both. They just want their name on everything, you know, and they want people to understand that if it weren't for Robert Kraft, Bill Belichick wouldn't have been a New England Patriot because he's the one that hired him. When he literally resigned from the Jets, I'm talking about Bill Belichick, when he resigned from the Jets to go to the Patriots because he thought it was a better position. So the Jets actually hired him first. It had nothing to do with Robert Kraft. So, yeah, going back to his little ego trip, I agree with you. I think he should just sit down and shut up. But
yeah, and I mean, his name is already out there, like you said, sometimes not for the best reasons. But it's not like he's not one of the most well-known people in sports. He is. Some people, we don't even know the owner's name, dude. Like, no. So, you know, these people just need to get it together and realize, like, you're manipulating and literally hurting your team and organization when you literally have no reason to do that. Like, I don't know. So now, do you see Bill in the NFC East next year? Not on the Eagles, but on one of the other. I think it's rumored that he would coach the Cowboys or Giants.
No, I think he's going to And next year he's going to get tired and he's going to ride off into the sunset. He's probably going to have a pina colada in Cancun or something, and that'll be the day. Just like Jason Kelsey, he was in Vegas. He was having a great time, and that's where people said that he was going to retire because they saw how much fun he was having. I mean, once you get out of the work life, once you're out of a rhythm, it's tougher to get back into that rhythm, especially when you're that age. I think sooner or later, him being out of rhythm, he's going to realize that he's too old to do it anymore, and he's not going to come back.
Now, do you see him? I think he's going to do something with football, though. Do you see him as like a commentator or an studio person on a network, or?
No, if anything, I could see him being a scout. I think he could travel and watch like at high school games and college games. I think he would do something like that because it's not as tense on the body, and it's actually a quite easy job when you know what you're looking at. But for the most part, high stressful jobs I think are out of the picture for Bill Belichick. I think he's done. Yeah.
All right. Now this is another good question. What's going on with Tom Brady now? So we know he put out some tweet. I forget what it was to come back or something. I can't remember. But, he has that deal with Fox to start as their number one lead analyst with Kevin Burkhardt. I don't even know. It's an insane amount of money. I don't know if it's for like 5 or 10 years or whatever.
Yeah.
So does he not want to do that? Is he bored? Does he somehow really want to come back?
No.
Like, what is going on with him?
So he can't come back. He's just playing a game. He's gonna do his 10-year deal at Fox. I think it's for like $300 million or something like that. It's crazy. He's gonna start out his deal. The reason why he's putting out the tweets is he's bored. Even if he wanted to come back, he couldn't because he owns the Las Vegas Raiders. So you can't play for an NFL franchise when you own another team. Like, you just can't do it. And I think it would be fascinating if he did try to come back, but he can't. He realistically can't come back. So you could shoot that down. I'm seeing a lot of Caleb Williams shit in this comment section.
Should we talk about Caleb Williams?
Yeah, let's talk about him a little bit. Here we go from Unknown Cablot. Caleb Williams is a punk.
Isn't he the one that said he doesn't like Jason Kelsey and Travis
Yeah.
Yeah. You don't like anyone, dude.
Yeah. Well, here's another one. He has an ego. There's a lot.
Who has an ego? Who has an ego? Caleb Williams?
Yeah.
Of course they have an ego. Like, what?
They're the number one pick overall.
Like, I don't think these people ever were in any type of organized sports or like what? Great athletes, great people in general at their jobs have egos. Like, what?
Wall Street people, people with billions of dollars, people that are great at sport. They're all going to have big
poker players, right?
Poker players. Yeah.
Like, I don't know. I don't know if these people have never, been in the real world. No offense, because I love that you guys are viewing into the show, but like, egos are a real thing. People have
you don't think that JJ McCarthy has an ego? Like, come on. He just won a national title with Michigan.
All right, I guess what they're trying to say is this person appears more humble to me, or I just like their personality better or how they come off. But like at the end of the day, it doesn't really mean anything.
Yeah.
Because eventually you learn, like, a Peyton Manning or a Tom Brady, they both of them have huge egos. Oh my God, like mountains. Like, Peyton does his show on ESPN Monday Night Football thing. Look at Brady being bored and tweeting whatever.
Even Eli Manning.
So the world adapts to them when we see how good of a player they are. And they're not out here, killing people, drunk driving. Like, besides just breaking the law and doing stuff like that, who cares if they have an ego or you think they do, or it comes off stronger than somebody else?
So like, I gotta call out this comment right here by Highlight Workshop. He tunes in all the time. Caleb threatened to transfer as a freshman because Rattlers start over him. Well, I hate to break it to you, but when you know you're the better player, you're gonna threaten to transfer. Like, you're not gonna.
And that's helping him. That's why he's gonna be the number one overall pick, because he's positioned himself the way he did. Right?
Yeah, I don't know if people watched college football last year. I don't watch a lot of USC games, but man, whenever I would tune in, the throws that the throws that this guy would have were insane. It was definitely like Patrick Mahomes-esque. Now, I
That's
don't know
what we
why
can't
anyone
compare
wouldn't take
to.
a shot on him. I don't understand it, but I think people try to grab at something that's not there just to create and stir drama. I just
Like
don't
AJ
understand.
Brown. Well, AJ Brown is there, but it's the same type of thing to me.
Yeah. And it's like, yeah, they had a 7-5 record, and UFC wasn't good. And he still put on work. Like he was crying in the stands. He was literally crying in the stands because they did a horrible job this year. And that's
That
dedication right
I
there.
know that's the kind of player you want. I know that.
It depends. I mean, like it depends on why they're crying, or it depends on what they're doing.
You just want
Um,
someone to care 24/7, like
like Embiid.
100%.
Yep.
But do you think it's in the long run, like it's kind of a disservice or unfair to him to be compared to Patrick Mahomes? Like that's a lot to live up to. Like I don't,
Um,
or you think if he is a my God, who's Houston's quarterback last year? Can't think.
CJ Stroud.
If he has a CJ Stroud type year, like he's not going to be Patrick Mahomes from day one. But like, I don't know. How do you feel about that comparison?
Well, he's definitely not going to be Patrick Mahomes because he's going to be on the Bears, and the Bears stink. So, I
Good
mean, I
point.
mean, I mean, from day one, I would really just judge how he makes the simple throws on the field. I wouldn't try to compare him to anyone. I would just like to see his game and how he develops with a team like the Chicago Bears, who are absolutely terrible. And what I see from him next year is if he's fluent with his passing and his runs, I think he'll be a really good prospect for sure. But it
Mm.
really depends on his first year how he takes leadership by the balls. You have weapons, you have decent running backs, you have that one wide receiver. I'm not thinking of his name right now, but he's a stud. Um, you have the opportunity to bring a fan base back to its glory days, and I truly believe that Caleb Williams can do it, but he's gonna have to take it slow especially because of the situation that he's in right now. It's not as bad as the Carolina Panthers, but
Oh
the
God.
Chicago Bears never have an offensive line, and they're not ran well. So I'm rooting for him for sure. I guess time will tell.
Now, my biggest concern, especially with the overhype, could be compared to Patrick Mahomes. And I just Googled it. All right, do you agree that Tom Brady, Patrick Mahomes, and Joe Montana, that's your top three quarterbacks of all time?
Nope. My top three of all time, we're not going by wins, we're going by actual skill. My top three quarterbacks of all time are Peyton Manning, Aaron Rodgers, and Patrick Mahomes.
All right, well, I'm going by wins and Super Bowl wins, and we know that
Okay.
those three have the most. And
Mm-hmm.
guess where they were drafted? Joe Montana was a third
Third
round
round.
pick.
Yep.
Tom Brady was what, a
Sixth.
sixth?
Yep.
And Patrick Mahomes was unknown. He was a 12th round pick. I mean, first round 12th pick. What
12th
you said, I
round
said
pick.
12th round pick. You know what I meant. 12th
Yeah.
overall. And no one even really knew who he was. He was not talked about
Mhm.
much leading up to the draft. So it's like
Yeah. Guess who was picked? Guess who was picked before him?
a ton of bad fucking people.
Yeah, Mitch Trubisky.
And another one.
Well, Deshaun Watson was picked after him, like a little after him.
No, I think there was
But
another. Was he the second quarterback to go? I thought there was
yeah,
another one.
10th overall.
Didn't the Jets take somebody? No.
No, no, not that year.
So, anyways, like that's my only concern. Is like these people that even like you could say like Andrew Luck. Okay, well, he didn't have that long of a career. Peyton Manning, yes, he he won 2 Super Bowls. We know he really only won one off of his talent. But, for overall winning in quarterbacks, kind of comes out of nowhere. It's like that once in a lifetime pick. It's a lightning in a bottle. We'll see. Can Caleb Williams start a brand new trend and be the clear cut number one, prospect quarterback and ultimately be one of the best quarterbacks ever? Because
Yeah,
if you're
I
a
think so.
quarterback number one overall, those are your expectations that this is going to be, at least like a top 30 quarterback. Do you agree? Of
So,
all time, if they're
so,
taking
so
number one
there's
overall.
there's two quarterbacks in this draft. If you get either one, I don't think you're going to be disappointed. Either Caleb Williams or Jaden Daniels. You get one of those two guys, you're going to be a dynamic offense for years to come. The other quarterbacks are kind of projects, in my opinion, with
You don't like
JJ
JJ?
McCarthy,
You don't like
JJ
JJ
McCarthy,
McCarthy?
May from Carolina. Those guys, they're projects. They're pocket passers, but they have a lot of raw talent. So it's one of those things where two of those quarterbacks are givens. You had Jaden Daniels who won the Heisman Trophy last year, and then Caleb Williams would have won the Heisman Trophy if he was on a better team. So those two athletes, they're dynamic. So whoever gets either one, you're good. I expect them to go 1-2 actually. It's going to go Caleb Williams and Jane Daniels to Washington, and then you're going to have May and McCarthy follow somewhere.
Highlight Worship just says Matt Stafford, arguably the most successful number one overall pick.
Possibly.
And honestly, that's kind of crazy because, he was in Detroit for a long time and not winning. Obviously, he put up amazing numbers, had Calvin Johnson, but yeah, that's kind of like weird. Like why, the scouts, everyone spends so much time prepping for the draft, quarterbacks, I know it's so hard. It's still kind of a roll of the dice for whatever reason. Just make sure that you don't pick Zach Wilson this year, basically.
No.
Right?
Yeah. The thing with Zach Wilson is I have a hot take here. So Zach Wilson, I think on Denver will actually be better than what he was on the Jets.
Well, I
think
mean,
that
that might not be hard to do. I mean, he was the worst quarterback in the league, you could argue. So
he has too much talent to suck this bad. Like I just don't understand it. He has a cannon for an arm. He can throw 70 yards down the field with the flick of the wrist.
It's
run
mentally.
Yeah, maybe he just needed a change in atmosphere or scenery.
No, what I'm saying is tons of quarterbacks have physical talent, but they can't put it together because they mentally they can't make the decisions. So I think that's what it could be.
Like he
now
can't
also we know he has a very interesting personal life. Talk about ego and personality. He's a big one up there as well.
Yep.
But you can't let that affect your play on the field. So, and that's where the hate or the dislike can be justified. Well, he's doing this, that, the third. He's in the headlines for this, and he sucks. But if you're in the headlines and you're a Hall of Famer, like what? Who cares?
Yeah. I mean, this comment just says it right here. Zach Wilson comes off as a bit arrogant. Came from a wealthy family, and the entire MILF conversation was concerning. I mean, listen, people are into what they're into.
But there were tons of people that loved it, like the young kids, the Twitter, the Instagram comments. They loved it, and it could have been a thing, but he sucks on the field.
Yeah, he's not good.
So it's like I don't really feel like he's not doing anything. Yeah, it's crazy what he did, like personally, but it's not like he's like not breaking the law. He's not being immoral. Like,
yeah,
if it would have been like a little nugget in his story if he actually won games. But if you're not winning games, then it's like you're not performing, and all of this shit looks bad. And it's distracting you. Does that make sense? The narrative can be changed so easily.
Exactly. No, I agree 100%. But Zach Wilson, I think he'll do better in Denver. But like we said, tonight is a huge night for the Philadelphia Eagles. It's actually bigger than you would expect, especially where our pick is. I really want Howie Roseman to make a splash tonight, and I don't think he's going to do it. I think we're going to just at this point, if we get Cooper DeJean or Kool-Aid, I'd be content with it. I really want Brock Bowers if they can make it happen. But I don't know what it is. I just see them either trading back or taking a guard or something, like something stupid.
I should have wore a red shirt because I've been saying Kool-Aid for like over a month now, so I'm not going to back down out of that. I would love to
Yeah.
get him, but yeah, we will see. Do we have time for our last topic? I can stay on a little bit. Awesome. All right, last topic we want to hit, and then we can officially wrap up our draft coverage and obviously comment away, answer anything you guys.
Oh, whatever.
What do you say?
Christ. Bro, Nitro, it's Cooper DeJean, not DeJean.
I'm gonna stay out of that one. Kyle's
right,
not.
Whatever. He's not had a rough.
French, okay? Kyle's had a rough week, guys. He definitely has.
Jesus Christ! I didn't know he's not French. Like Jesus Christ, give me a freaking break.
Last topic, and then we can wrap up the draft and this show. But former Eagles Zach Ertz, Marcus Mariota, and Olamide Zaccheaus, who I'm very familiar with, actually played Pee Wee football with him. They're now Washington Commanders. They all signed with the Commanders this offseason. Should we really care about this? Because I feel like in the past, especially Zach Ertz, we really would have like an all-time player signing with a division rival. Is this a sign that NFL rivalries and, players' team alliance and allegiance is like slowly going away because free agency and one-year contracts is, common reality today? Or is there something to, Marcus Mariota being in our quarterback room with Hurts? Can he really provide Washington information that, could help beat us this year?
No, I think they're salty that the team didn't want to bring them back. So they go to an NFC East inferior opponent who no one gives a shit about anymore, and they're not going to succeed over there. And it's going to blow up in their face like it always does because Washington is a useless dump of a franchise. And people, I don't even know why athletes go there anymore willingly. Like it's not ran right. The stadium's a shithole. It's filled with bees in the parking lot, and it's just money. So it's like whoever goes there, whatever, let them go die. I don't really care. It doesn't really mean anything to me.
I would agree. Can you imagine being a Washington fan just waiting for change?
No.
Trying to find hope, and it just never comes, right?
Yep. Yeah, they need a new stadium to begin with.
Yeah, it's embarrassing. Remember when the fans almost killed Hurts?
Yeah, not only did the fence almost kill Hurts, well, the fans, but when we went, there was an old guy trying to fight you, and
if I was one of those fans, wouldn't you like sue and get like millions of dollars?
Oh yeah, but the thing was, Jalen Hurts made them happy by smiling and taking pictures, and it kind of made them forget about it. If I were Jalen Hurts, I would have said, "Yo, guys, sue the franchise." That's what a real guy does.
Yeah, why not? That's like, what's the odds of that happening to you? And honestly, like, I don't know if you could, like, it's not like you're gonna like fake an injury, but like, I don't even know how that works. Like, would you actually have to be hurt to win the case or no?
Yes. Yeah, you'd have to get an injury.
Okay.
Yeah, by law, you'd have to get an injury. But that just goes to show you, the Washington Commanders are ranked one of the highest, wealthiest franchises in the world, not only in the league, in the world.
Which makes no damn sense.
Yeah, they don't care about the safety of their fans to the point to where they're that cheap. That's a problem inside the franchise. You're not looking out for the safety of your fans. You'd rather pocket the money. And that's why being a Washington fan is probably really tough right now. Because if they're not willing to,
and that's probably why they're so wealthy, because they have the shittiest stadium in the league.
Yeah.
Right?
Oh, easily. They don't have to maintain it that well.
Yeah, it's very, I don't like to use the word corrupt, but like it's just odd. It's very odd. It's almost like a factory. Like you're running a factory and the factory's breaking down. Shit's not working. It's broken, but you're just making so much money off of your minimum wage workers. I don't want to say the S word on here, but like that's kind of what it reminds me of. It's just like you're all the way up here. You don't see anything besides the dollar, the green, and everything is shit underneath of you. Yeah. So yeah, obviously Daniel Snyder's out of there now. So, and it's also going to be interesting of time with the Sixers because we know who the new owner of the Commanders
Josh
is.
Harris. Yep.
What are your thoughts on that?
I have the thoughts on it. He owns the Devils, he owns the Sixers, and he owns Washington. So his mind and heart are three different places. So watching, it's going to be weird tonight because we're in the playoffs. But then again, he's going to be in the draft room for the Washington Commanders. So it's kind of weird for me, but then again, that's business and he's a good businessman. I got to give it to him. It's
Now,
just
will they still, because I know other sports have done it, like they'll play the Eagles fight song or Phillies, like will they still do that just because it's in the Philadelphia market? Like you think they'll do that during Sixers games or no?
yeah, of course. I mean, if the draft pick comes on during the Sixers game, they will probably show it on the board, yeah. But I don't
Like
think it's
the Eagles pick, you mean?
yeah, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I just don't think it's going to be on by the time the game's done. Because we're number 22. It takes 10 minutes to pick. If you think about that, that's what? 220 minutes? Yeah, 220 minutes. That's going to be way after the game's out.
Now, now another interesting question to spin off of that is, do you think that is almost like a disservice, like when you have an owner because I think it's usually if you have an owner, like I know other owners, they own two teams in the same city.
Yeah.
Now, owning three different teams in three different markets, three different cities, to me, that speaks like you only care about the money. You
Yeah.
really, and do you agree with that?
Yes and no. I feel like if you have cultures, like three different cultures to deal with, you're learning a lot more about different cities and like where like how people act differently and I don't know, it's weird. I don't think it's all about the money. If it were all about the money, I don't know, man. Like that's a loaded question. Maybe I don't know.
I
I
think it
I
is
got
because it's like how do you get very emotionally invested to three completely different sports cities fans? It's like I know in reality we all know this. If you have three jobs, three whoever, you're going to have a favorite. You're going to want to put more of your time into one of those things.
oh yeah.
So clearly he has a favorite, and in my opinion, he just bought this. This is the new shiny toy, the Washington Commanders.
Yeah.
So I think a lot of his energy and time could be going into that in recent. And also, I think he's another reason. I think he's satisfied with the Sixers being a first or second round exit. Why wouldn't he just be okay with that? He's still making money. They're in the playoffs. They sell out regular season. They win a decent amount of games. Obviously not this year, that because of Embiid's injury. But yeah, like I think that I could be onto something there. I don't know what you think, but
Yeah, I mean, he's satisfied. He does bring in money. He knows when the Sixers are a good basketball team, they're going to bring in money no matter what. I mean, I've had season tickets the last 3 years, so I'm one of them. Um, but for the most part, it's about putting a team around him. I think this offseason, they're going to try to bring in Paul George, and I think that'll help the team out. But I don't know, man. I wouldn't say his heart's not in it. Like he's just using them as an investment. I wouldn't say that. I think when you own a team, you want them to win. But yeah, when you have different teams in different cities, like you said, maybe it's a little bit more difficult than that. If your heart is invested, I don't know. I guess we'll see.
he's a pretty young billionaire. He's only 59.
Yeah,
That's
yeah,
that's interesting.
yeah. It's definitely
Yeah, I
odd.
don't know. I mean, obviously, that's like a sports fan's dream to own three different franchises, major sports besides baseball. I mean, who knows? He probably could buy a baseball team if he wanted. Shit.
Oh yeah,
Um,
easily.
but yeah, I think it has to be the first time where an owner of a Philly sport owns a rival team in a different sport. Like
Yeah,
Philly
yeah.
is definitely not used to it, and I'm sure I definitely see this being some WIP topic or this coming up in the future for sure.
Is Josh Harris an evil person? 215.
Right?
Yeah.
I mean, I could see it, right? But all right, well, we're gonna be wrapping up here, but final thoughts on the draft. Um, I said I'm confident. I really am. For some reason, again, I looked at the roster. I'm confident with our roster as is right now. I know you've been saying like people that are from the collapse are still here. I
Mm,
think they might be banking on bringing CJ Gardner Johnson back is going to
mm.
somehow rejuvenate and give James Bradbury confidence. I think there's something to do with that. And obviously Vic Fangio, number one. But number two, it's like, again, I'm confident in the offense. I love our talent there. I just think you need to bolster the defense. And obviously, I want corner in the first round. But after that, I would take best defensive player available.
Yeah, I mean, I like what you said about the whole make James Bradbury what he was, especially bringing in CJ Gardner Johnson. But at the end of the day, it's all about how his body reacts because he is getting older. He looked old last year. So I don't know, man. I mean, bringing back a lot of pieces that helped with the collapse, you don't know how that's going to work. And if it
And
doesn't work out,
Bradbury, he could who I wouldn't be surprised if Bradbury gets traded tonight, tomorrow, Saturday, August. I wouldn't be
he could.
surprised,
Yeah, he could.
right?
But it really depends on who we end up with. So if we end up with Kool-Aid, it's a possibility.
You know what? I'm gonna kind of backtrack because you are right, and I almost just forgot. Like both of our corners are 30 plus. Like
Mhm.
corner is number one need by far. Like stop, right?
Yeah.
Like come
No,
on.
it really is. Yeah. The only, like I said, the only player I'd be willing to get other than a cornerback is Brock Bowers. That's the only player.
You're obsessed with him. My
He's
God.
amazing. Go watch his film, like go watch his career film highlights.
Are you saying he's like Rob Gronkowski?
Yeah.
Tony Gonzalez,
Yeah.
Travis Kelsey.
Yeah.
Well, if
Yeah.
he's Travis Kelsey, because honestly, I think Kelsey's better than Gronk and Gonzalez, in my
Mhm.
opinion now. So
Yeah.
hell, if he's
I'd be okay with Brock Bowers. Absolutely.
if I'm doing that, I'm trading Goddard for any corner that's any decently halfway good. Then,
Now you're
like,
thinking. I'm on the
right,
same page. Same page.
right,
Yeah.
seriously.
Yeah. But whatever happens is the only way I'll be mad is if it's like, I don't know, a guard, a punter, like something like that. But other than
Hunter,
that, I hope you get.
you're being a dickhead. You're being a dick now.
No,
But
I'm
I mean, you have a
trying
right
not
to
to.
be.
I don't have any faith in Howie Roseman doing the right thing. I just
All right.
don't. Never
Well,
have.
I mean, you could be the Jets. I know I don't like to say this conversation. You could be this, you could be that, but it's not like Howie has never picked anyone good in the first round. The Jets
Yeah.
have picked like one good first round player in like 10 years.
Mhm.
Um, but yeah, I think you need if you want to get and we do need a good cornerstone player, I would
Mhm.
move up because unless Kool-Aid's there, I wouldn't stay at 22. And I also think trading down, I don't know if it makes that much sense because you want to get one of the best players in the draft. You don't want to get a bunch of okay players because we don't really need depth. Every team needs depth, but we need a star corner. We need a star linebacker. We need a star defensive end. Like we're kind of missing that. We have Josh Sweat, Isaiah Rogers, Slay. Like they're all going to be like more like depth. They're not like superstars. You know what I
Right.
mean? And every team needs superstars, but on this defense, like who are the leaders? CJ Gardner Johnson just became, or he's here. He's one of our best defensive players out of nowhere again.
Yep.
Um,
And he finally
like there's
he got the deal he wanted. It's like it worked out perfectly for him.
exactly like Jalen Carter probably is going to emerge as one of our best players probably this season. But
Yep.
we don't. Who else? Like they're either old or they're really young.
Yep.
So what in this situation you need to get the best player available. that it's going to become your new defense. This is going to be a cornerstone, the face of the defense. That's really what we need in this draft. Do you agree?
I agree.
Absolutely.
I agree.
Awesome.
Yeah, Ma GG. But look at my Scott part.
Oh, hey, Ma, what's going on? I used to work with her at Chickies. Great
Sweet.
people.
Yeah, we were just talking about Chickies and Pete's. Very nice people there.
Let's not bring that up again, right?
Yeah. But all right, guys.
Anything else before we log off here?
No, that's about it. It's gonna be a good draft night. Hopefully the Sixers win tonight. I'll be in a better mood. But hey, listen, let's hope for the best. You know, we need to get the right player, help fix us on defense, or get Brock Bowers on offense, shoe up the offense, make it the best in the NFL. I'd be all right with either. But
absolutely, we'll have a ton to talk about next week. So that'll definitely looking forward to that already for sure.
Oh, absolutely, yeah. But guys, we'd like to thank you for tuning in to another edition of Fly Like an Eagle podcast, Draft Day edition. Do us a favor, hit that thumbs up on subscribe if you liked our content, and we'll be back next week on hopefully Wednesday, depending on how we're feeling. And like I said, hopefully you guys enjoy this and keep coming back. And let's go Birds.
Go Birds, and good luck to your Sixers tonight, Kyle. They're gonna need it.
Yep, it's a big one.